Hi, my name's Nicholas Sandoval. I'm the founder and CEO of Create Purpose. You're here right now because you want to make sure that your donation to the orphanage matters. And I get it. Orphanages are a difficult place to donate to serve, never really knowing who you're helping, where your money's going, where your gift's going. I've been working in orphanages since 2008. And since then, when I started, much like a lot of people, especially when we think of orphans, we think of food and clothes and shelter. And so that's what I did. We went with a local group and we painted and we built schools and rooms. There were a lot of secondhand clothes that we delivered, a lot of plastic toys. There was a lot of pizza parties and just making sure that the children had fun. But what was interesting is I had been doing that monthly, weekly almost, for years. And then there came a time where this boy, Orlando, 13-year-old kid, I had known him for years, been doing the same thing I had always been doing, giving gifts. And over the years, I was able to give more. I joined organizations, and I was leading bus trips down into Mexico with hundreds. I've led thousands of people into Mexico to serve orphanages. And when I saw Orlando, it had been 7 years since I had been serving, and I'm seeing, feeling really good about myself as we're unloading this bus of toys and clothes and just everything that I had given up until that point. And I'll never forget, we were unloading cupcakes, and as we're unloading cupcakes, I'm like, wow, how cool. Those look like really good cupcakes. I can't wait to get me one. And Orlando, this boy I had known for five years, he just looks at me and he's like, hey, what did you bring me today? Very simple question. And I'm looking at everything that we had unloaded. And then I started looking at everything we were unloading. And Orlando was behind physically. He's smaller, skinnier than most kids, academically super behind in his grades, behaviorally, and even was wetting the bed at 13 years old. So yeah, he was just behind, and nothing that I had brought in him up to that point was going to help him with any of that. And it hit me. I hadn't brought him anything up until that point, but I made him a promise that that day that I was going to bring him stuff. And so Create Purpose was born. And Create Purpose, we focus on development programs for children living in orphanages. But here, we just want to make sure that your donation to an orphanage matters. And so, how can you do that? Well, we've come up with 5 steps to ensure that your donation matters. The first step, just ask. Ask what the orphanage needs. I can't tell you how many times I have seen with my own eyes, groups come up, deliver a gift. I've seen on several occasions the group would deliver blankets. It's cold, it's Christmas. Of course, the children will need blankets. Of course, it gets cold, so you need to keep them warm. And like all orphanages, they graciously accept these blankets. Everyone's happy. The donors, they leave, and the orphanage, they put those blankets in the closet with all the rest of the blankets that all the other groups have donated. So step 1, key number 1, just ask. Ask what the orphanage needs. You can really be a blessing just by asking. Instead of bringing blankets, maybe they need toothpaste. Instead of toothpaste, maybe they need toilet paper. You never know, just ask. Key number 2, bring something nutritious. And it sounds so funny because, well, bring something nutritious. What do you mean? This might be the only opportunity that that orphanage, that that child gets to have a fruit or vegetable. Orphanages typically don't prioritize health in their budgets for shopping, grocery shopping. So healthy foods typically get, deprioritized. So when you go in there, I know it's easier to order pizza. I know it's easier to give them chips and candy, but these children get chips and candy and pizza on every visit, I guarantee you. So think differently, give differently. Bring a healthy meal, bring healthy food, bring healthy snacks. Key number 3, make sure that everything you bring is focused on child development. Now, I'm talking about toys and entertainment because I can't tell you how many times I have seen plastic toys end up in the garbage hours after donors leave and visitors leave. We come in with the greatest of intentions. We just want to see a smile on a child's face. And I guarantee you, when you smile, they just want to be loved. They feel that presence, and it's a child. They're so open, they're so loving. They'll play with whatever. You give them a puzzle, you give them a coloring book, whatever you give them, they're going to enjoy. So why not give them something that's going to help them develop mentally, creatively, give them an activity that they can do together that focuses on their collaboration. Give them a game that they can do that focuses on their creativity. Think bigger. Instead of that plastic toy that I'm telling you is going to end up in the garbage, even give them a puzzle that encourages just problem solving and thinking. Just think bigger. Key number 4 is money. Now, I go back and forth on this one because at Create Purpose, when we work with an orphanage, they know that we are not going to give them a dollar or a peso. We focus all of our giving, all of our service and development programs. We have a great technology program. We have an incredible nutrition program and childcare program. We focus on programs. It's interesting. We know the old adage: if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. Create Purpose, since our inception, has always been focused on teaching that man to fish so that they can eat for a lifetime. Teaching that child to fish so they can get a job, so they can get a career, so they can be productive members of society. However, we also, over the years, have really come to understand the importance of giving that fish. Like, yes, teaching to fish, long term longevity, all these empowerment, a child can thrive, all these things, but giving a fish is so important. And when you go to the orphanage staff already has in their mind that there is a 40% chance that anyone who enters their doors are going to donate financially. So they'll do dances and parties. All of the show is for you, that you will get out your wallet and that you will donate. So think about that. Think about what you want to donate to. Think about what cause you want to support. And the one pager below, we've listed a couple of things, a couple of levels that cost monthly, some costs yearly, that you might want to consider when you go to an orphanage of helping them out monetarily. Though Create Purpose will never, I don't want to say will never, but that we don't help them out monetarily and financially. We know a lot of donors do. We know that they aren't supported by the government financially, and they do require private funding. So if you're going to visit, give them a tip. And finally, the 5th key to making sure that your orphanage donation matters is be consistent. Show up, and then show up again, and then show up again, and then show up again. I've seen so many people, and to be honest, I'm guilty of it myself. In my early years of going to orphanages, we would go to all orphanages, and God, these children are so incredible. You just want to just put love on them, tell them how incredible they are. We ask them like their favorite subjects, what they want to be when they grow up, all these important questions that we're intrigued. We want them to succeed. We want them to just be encouraged that they can do anything. And then we dig and then we dig and then we connect with them and we tell them how important that they are. And in most cases, when we go to orphanages, we never come back. And so we just are reinforcing this feeling of abandonment that they have. So be consistent. If you're going to show up, show up. Don't just show up on Christmas. Don't just show up on Dia del Niño, the day of the child. Show up. Make sure that your group shows up, and don't just pick, oh, this orphanage one week and this one the next time because you want to get variety. Think about the child, think about just being consistent and how important when everyone around them lacks consistency, when their parents lack consistency, when, there's a lot of there's a lot of lack of consistency in their lives. You don't have to be. You can be an area, you can be an opportunity of consistency in their life. So that's what we've seen. Those are the 5 keys to making sure that your donation matters at your next orphanage visit. Um, at Create Purpose, it's been such a great ride. We've seen it for ourselves make a huge impact on these children. These children are so incredible. Our first time that we even just wanted to see if these children are even interested in learning. Are they even interested in things beyond the orphanage? We showed up our first day, our first week. With an occupational therapist. And she stayed the weekend at the orphanage. And day one, she's going over learning programs with each individual child and ABCs and the alpha, the one, two, threes, and just really basic learning just to see if these children even had an interest in learning. The next day, as she wakes up early the next morning to set up the class for the next day of learning with these children, and as she's setting up on their way to breakfast, the children, the doors closed to the classroom. The children are banging on the door, reciting their ABCs. A, B, C, D, because that's what they had learned the day before. They're so ready to learn. They're willing, they're ready, they're anxious, they're eager to learn. Let's help them learn. One last story when we've had our tech program now for about 4 years, and for our first 2 years we noticed one child who would never come into our class. He never joined our class. We didn't know why. He didn't join. He wasn't interested. He never told us, okay, Create Purpose classes, they're not mandatory. We just, we offer them to the children. It's either watching TV or coming to our class, and our classes are coding and gardening and computers. So they tend to come to class, but Fernando never came to class, and we would always wonder, we'd ask, but he'd never share. And finally he shared. And Fernando never entered our coding class, our technology class, because he wasn't really good in school and he didn't want this to be another disappointment in his life. Man, we talked a lot to Fernando. We encouraged him. He didn't come right away. It took him a lot longer after we, opened up the dialogue with him. But finally, one day he showed up to class. Fast forward to today, Fernando is the best student in our technology class. He didn't come because he didn't want to be this to be another disappointment in his life. But Fernando just learns differently, and he's thriving in our class. Orphanages are this microcosm of undiscovered talent that we've just thrown by the wayside, just completely abandoned and completely forgot about. We have set the bar so low when it comes to orphanages and the children that live in them, that as long as they have a roof over their head, food in their belly, and clothes on their back, they're good. Let's change that. Let's elevate the way we think of orphanages. Let's elevate the way that we think of orphans. This is just the beginning. These 5 keys to making sure that your orphanage donation matters is just the beginning. To find out more, how you can make a larger impact in the life of an orphan child, visit us at createpurpose.org. Thank you guys.